Today's short lesson is an excerpt from a longer podcast between Hayley and Katerina Popova of the Art Queens. If you want to listen to the full episode after hearing this short mini lesson, then follow the Art Coaching Club podcast anywhere you listen to podcasts.
I know, especially when you're starting out as an artist, having some kind of template or blueprint can be so helpful because I don't know, I mean, you have a business background, but when I first started, I really just liked business, or even the word made me like have an anxiety attack. So when I wanted to figure out how to support myself, that was a huge challenge and a roadblock for me. So I'm excited to see that you have served the community in this way.
Yeah, well, I mean, even with a business degree, I studied it in college, I still felt like I came into the art realm sort of not knowing because there's really not, I mean, I think there's more now with what you're doing and with what I'm trying to do, but there's not a ton of resources out there and there's not a straight path. I think a lot of people start painting and maybe they share on Instagram, but then it takes off and they're kind of like, what do I do? And so I think it's important to, I felt that way. I was struggling. And so I was like, what can I put out there for artists that just helps them get to that next step? It's basically like, don't make the mistakes I made. Here's the things you can do that might just get you there a little bit faster.
Totally, I agree. And for me, it was just this realization that you can just start, you can just put things out there. And for some reason, I don't know if you felt this way or not, but when I first started, I felt like something needed to happen in order for me to be able to sell my work or price it at a certain point. And one day, when I hired my first mentor, she was like, go, I was like, can you help me like learn how to sell my work, attract a bigger audience and collectors and, all the things that we always think we need. And she's like, okay, go out there and sell it. And I was like, what? I was like, I'm not ready for this. Like, what are you talking about, lady? And I did, and I was terrified. And then when things started to happen, because I was taking action, I was like, oh, like I was waiting for something. And of course, it's not as easy as that. There are things that are helpful, to know, and different strategies and wording and marketing and all that. But I think just to boil it down, so many times we wait for that perfect moment, and we have to create it. We have to kind of fumble a little bit.
Yes. And I feel like it's one of the biggest pieces of advice I give is just start, like, don't overthink it. And I think, like you said, I was the same way where I was waiting for everything to be perfect. I was waiting to get into a gallery or waiting for an opportunity for a show, or, I was so scared to have an Instagram, even though people were asking to buy my art. I mean, this was obviously Instagram for artists wasn't as huge this long ago, but it was still kind of like I was scared to put myself out there. And then once you do it, you're like, why didn't I do this 5 years ago? It's like we have these barriers we put up because we feel like everything has to be perfect before we put it out there.